You can walk into a shop this afternoon, buy an e-bike, and ride it home an hour later. No license, no registration, no insurance requirement. The state treats it like a bicycle. And that's exactly where the trouble starts, because your homeowner's policy might not treat it like a bicycle. Your auto policy doesn't cover it at all. And that means you could be riding a 28-mile-an-hour machine through your neighborhood with no liability coverage behind you and have no idea. If you don't know who I am, my name's Jim Eddington, and my agency helps individuals and businesses with their insurance every single day. Every state we serve uses a version of the same three-class system for e-bikes. Class 1 is pedal assist with no throttle, and the motor cuts out at 20 miles an hour. Class 2 adds a throttle, still capped at 20. Class 3 is pedal assist up to 28 miles an hour. All three are limited to 750 watts of motor power. Stay inside those limits, and the law treats your e-bike like a bicycle. You don't need a driver's license, you don't need to register it, and no state we serve requires insurance to ride one. And for getting on the road, that's good news. The catch is what it does to people's thinking. Riders here treat it like a bicycle and assume their insurance treats it like a bicycle too. The law and your insurance policy are two different documents, and they don't always agree. Quick practical note. E-bikes sold under this system carry a class label from the manufacturer, usually a sticker on the frame. That label is your starting point. It tells you the class and wattage the manufacturer assigned to the bike. Keep that answer handy because the class of the machine drives the insurance answer on everything we're about to cover. One caveat, if the bike's been modified, speed limiter removed, bigger motor swapped in, the sticker no longer answers that question. The rules around riding are tightening, by the way. Henderson passed a citywide helmet requirement for minors on bikes, e-bikes, and scooters earlier this year, and cities across the valley are paying closer attention to fast electric traffic on sidewalks and in parks. The machines are everywhere now, and that's exactly why this coverage question matters. A regular bicycle is one of the easiest things a homeowner's policy handles. You crash into someone and hurt them, your personal liability coverage responds. The bike gets stolen, your personal property coverage responds. Clean and simple. Add a motor and it stops being simple. A typical homeowner's policy excludes motorized vehicles from liability coverage, and the exceptions it carves out look like riding lawnmowers and wheelchairs, not e-bikes. Some carrier forms or endorsements do make room for certain low-speed e-bikes. The newest standard forms define anything self-propelled as a motor vehicle, which closes the door harder. And older or carrier-specific forms can be genuinely unclear, which means nobody knows the answer until there's a claim sitting on an adjuster's desk. There's a logic behind that exclusion, and it helps to understand it. Vehicle risk is supposed to live on vehicle policies where carriers can price the speed, the miles, and the driver. Your homeowner's premium was never built to carry the risk of a motorized machine moving through traffic. So when the policy pushes motorized vehicles out, it's pushing them toward a policy designed to hold them. The problem with e-bikes is they landed in the scene between the two. Too motorized for some home policies, not registered enough for an auto policy. Here's why that matters. Picture a Class 3 e-bike doing 25 miles an hour on a neighborhood path. A pedestrian steps out, and now there's a broken hip, a surgery, and months of recovery. Those medical bills can run six figures, and the injured person's attorney is going to come looking for whoever caused it. If your homeowner's policy covers the e-bike, your liability coverage and your carrier's defense attorney stand between that lawsuit and your savings. If it excludes the e-bike, you're standing there alone. That's the same crash, but completely different financial outcomes, and the difference is policy language you've probably never read. Your auto policy covers the vehicles listed on it. An e-bike isn't a registered vehicle, it doesn't get added to your auto policy like a second car would, and the liability coverage you carry for your cars doesn't follow you onto a bicycle seat. So for the damage you cause while riding, your auto policy is a dead end. There's one place your auto policy does show up, and it's worth knowing. If a car hits you while you're riding, your uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage can protect you the same way it would if you were walking. With how many uninsured drivers are on the road in Nevada, that coverage earns its keep. We covered UM and UIM in detail in another video, and it's on the channel. So the picture is this. The uninsured driver who hits you runs through your auto policy. The pedestrian you hit runs through your homeowner's policy if it covers the e-bike at all. That's two different policies and two different questions, and most writers have never asked either one. Stand-up electric scooters sit in their own gray zone. If you own one, you've got the same motorized vehicle question your e-bike has. Your homeowner's policy may cover the liability or may exclude it, and the answer lives in the policy language, not in what feels reasonable. And there's rental scooters, and those add a wrinkle. When you tap that app and agree to the terms, you're generally agreeing that most of the responsibility for what happens lands on you. The rental company's insurance is primarily built to protect the rental company. If you run a rented scooter into a parked car or worse, into a person, don't expect the app to handle it for you. For a 5-minute ride to dinner, most people never think about any of this. The exposure is the same as the e-bike though. Speed, pavement, and other people with coverage that may or may not exist. Here's something a lot of parents run into without realizing it. Some of the most popular electric bikes right now are fast, heavy machines that blow right past the class limits. More than 750 watts, more than 28 miles an hour, sometimes no working pedals at all. Legally, that's not an e-bike anymore. Once a machine exceeds the class definitions, it can be treated as a moped, a motorcycle, or another class of motor vehicle entirely, depending on the state and how the machine was built. That can mean registration, a driver's license, and required insurance, none of which the teenager riding it has. The insurance side gets worse. Whatever gray area exists for true Class 1 or Class 2 e-bike on a homeowner's policy, it disappears for a machine the state considers a motorcycle. Homeowners policies are not built to cover motorcycles, so you have a fast, unregistered, uninsured vehicle, often with a minor on it, and the liability for whatever happens runs straight back to the household. If there's one of these in your garage, this is worth a conversation before it's worth a claim. Know what the machine legally is and insure it as what it is, not as what the sales page called it. Liability is only half the question with an e-bike though. The bike itself is the other half. A quality e-bike runs anywhere from a couple $1,000s to $8,000 or more, which puts it in the same price range as a decent used car, except it's parked at a bike rack with a cable lock. Whether your homeowner's policy covers the theft depends on the same policy language we've been talking about. Some policies treat an e-bike like any other personal property. Some apply the motorized vehicle exclusion to property coverage too. Even when the theft is covered, run the deductible math. If you carry a $2,500 deductible, which I generally like because insurance is for the losses you can't absorb, a stolen $2,000 e-bike never even reaches your coverage. So an expensive bike is an insurance question, but the cheap one is a budgeting question. If the bike is worth insuring, document it now. Write down the serial number, keep the receipt, and take photos of the bike and the battery. A theft claim with documentation moves. A theft claim built on memory crawls. We covered documenting your belongings before a claim in another video, and it's on the channel. Now, the batteries. Lithium battery fires from e-bikes and scooters charging indoors have become a real concern, especially with cheap aftermarket batteries and chargers. The reasonable news is that fire is a core covered peril on homeowners policies. If a charging battery burns your garage, the resulting damage to your home is generally the kind of loss the policy exists for. Protect yourself anyway. Charge with the manufacturer's equipment, don't charge unattended overnight, and be cautious with bargain replacement batteries. The very best fire claim is the one you never have to file. Covering an e-bike properly comes down to two paths. The first is your homeowner's policy. Ask whether your specific machine, its class, its wattage, is covered for liability and for theft. Some carriers can endorse coverage onto the policy. Get the answer before you need it, because the after the claim version of this conversation only goes one way. The second path is standalone e-bike policy. There are specialty markets built for exactly this: liability for the damage you cause, theft and damage coverage for the bike, and options that make sense for the rider putting real miles on an expensive machine. One more thing worth checking: your umbrella policy. People assume an umbrella catches everything underneath it, and many umbrellas follow the same motorized vehicle exclusions as the policies they sit on top of. An umbrella is some of the best money you can spend in insurance, but it isn't automatic coverage for a gap in the policy below it. That's a policy language question, and it's worth asking directly. This is where an independent agency earns its place. We can read the actual language on your current policy, tell you where your e-bike stands, and if there's a gap, we may know a carrier that can close it. If there is an e-bike or a scooter in your garage right now, or one on the way for a birthday, find out what your policy actually says before anyone writes it. It's one phone call, and it's a lot cheaper than finding out the other way. If you'd like us to take a look, there's a quote link below. Our agency serves Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and California, and we're happy to help. Subscribe to the channel. We publish most business days, and what we cover is for individuals, families, and business owners who want to understand their insurance before they need it, not after. Thanks for watching, and ride safe.